Welcome to the second installment in Target 60's Frugal gaming series, where I explore Steam's free-to-play offerings. Ahead in the show, a raccoon throws up, I die a lot in a mech, and someone rides a mechanical bull. Steam has an incredibly large collection of free-to-play games, 3,152 as of April 1st. Unlike the GOG offerings I covered in the previous video that provided a complete single-player experience, Steam's most popular titles are competitive multiplayer games. Though not all the free-to-play titles you'll find listed are genuine, many are in fact pay-to-win, or freemium as the internet likes to say. These are games that are free to install, but often require you to pay to unlock content or even just have a decent experience. The worst offenders are the pay-to-win games, which are often designed to frustrate players in a conceited effort to have you spend exorbitant amounts of money to progress through the game. If any game requires you to pay money for anything other than purely cosmetic luxuries, I wouldn't recommend playing, and such titles will not be part of this list. The negativity aside, there really is something for everyone on Steam in the free-to-play category, and with the help of this video you can hopefully have some fun free gaming. In the spirit of bringing some balance to the physical isolation, I've mixed in a few multiplayer favorites that may provide some sense of community for those of us who miss socializing. As with my GOG list, none of these are sponsored choices and reflect my personal preferences while observing quarantine. The first game up is similar to Legend of Keepers I found on GOG, in that it's a prologue for Backbone, and is really more of a demo, yet it is an engaging role-playing point-and-click adventure game that will draw you in and play on any system. You take on the role of a raccoon detective in a dystopian Canada, searching for the husband of Odette Green. There's some glitches throughout. The game kept minimizing to the desktop while trying to interact with objects when using the mouse, and it is a bit short. It really is a demo, but I'll spare any spoilers and leave you with this teaser. More action-based and in some sense a prequel to Fortnite, Team Fortress 2 checks all the right boxes for a free-to-play shooter. This game has been around for 13 years now, has gone through several iterations, yet remains popular with almost 80,000 players online as of April 3rd. As it runs on the Source 2 engine, the game will run on most modern hardware at decent frame rates, with the recommended specs being a Pentium 4 with 1 GB of RAM. We'll do some FPS testing on that in another video. In the meantime, like the other titles, there is no pay to win, with only cosmetic items available for purchase. There are multiple characters with a variety of weapons and mechanics taking place, so one cannot simply point and shoot with hopes to win a match. There are a variety of game modes, each more entertaining than the last, and some very creative options like soccer hockey. It's a great game you can just jump into a match and not worry about falling behind. Teamwork isn't always my strong suit in these games though, so enjoy the following footage. Path of Exile is the fourth game on my list. It is best compared to Diablo as it's an online hack-and-slash RPG, but unlike Diablo it's relatively free. I say relatively because there are some purchasable features that make the game more convenient to play as you progress. You don't need any of these to play the game, but if you get really into it and pursue the endgame, the tabs do make organizing, storing, and selling items easier. The install itself is surprisingly heavy, coming in at 30 GB, but once you start playing it's clear there are hours of content to explore. The requirements here are more demanding than any of the earlier games I looked at, especially when lots of characters and items are on screen, but it's playable on most systems if you set things to low. Like Backbone, I had a number of technical issues during my playtime. Noticeably, I was desyncing with the server after minutes of gameplay, and I could no longer control my character unless I logged out and logged back in. Some research suggested trying different connection modes, predictive versus lockstep, though neither really solved this for me and I eventually gave up trying to play the game. As for the payable features, I was concerned going into the game that they would be more necessary than advertised, but pleasantly surprised that one could play this game for many hours before even considering to buy them. Next up is Ring of Elysium, a PUBG-like battle royale game that has some mixed reviews and gets a rant from me later on. Let's be honest, PUBG is a paid game that had some serious technical issues, but the concept worked and it was a hit. Ring of Elysium is a free game that also has some serious technical issues, but it sort of works. Kinda. The default control settings are inadequate for a fast-paced shooter. I had to make some quick adjustments to the control settings to have even a chance of surviving, and even then I found the best way to get kills was just to hijack a car and run people over. The cars themselves, and this is weird, all drive as though they are electric golf carts with the weirdest handling behaviors. The animations are also confusing, and the sounds range from strange to downright annoying. Here I am trying to do a burnout, and all 4 wheels are spinning in different directions and the car is maybe going backwards? In another instance, the textures for the cars just don't load. Just look at this clip I found on Steam. Credit to user ShadowFox for sharing. The game's primary player base is in Eastern Europe and China, so if you're trying to play from Africa, the Americas, or Western Europe, expect long wait times to join a match. Speaking of the player base, they are quite vocal and spam chat complaining about the developers replacing the original snow-covered map to the one you see here, which frankly just makes the game look like PUBG. The game really pushes you to purchase skins too. Every time the game loads, you have to close 4 or more windows before you can even begin. And when a match ends, you're again presented with these windows. For me, when I like a game, I don't have much to say as I'd prefer to spend my time enjoying it. With Ring of Elysium though, the game is a PUBG knockoff that really wants to be Fortnite, yet because it's using realistic textures, the appeal just isn't there for all the mechanics that have been inspired from its competitors in this genre. There is a degree of entertainment in its execution, or should I say cobbled together patches, as I found myself playing more and more of it, but the rampant hacking needs to be addressed, and come on devs, bring back the snow. MechWarrior Online is next, and if you like mech games, this has everything. The learning curve can be steep, and there are some gameplay flaws, but if you can overlook not being able to play with your friends on this one, then you can have a good time. The graphics on this one are interesting to say the least, as it's based on the original Cry engine from the first Far Cry release in 2006, which I thought were awesome back then, but by 2012 when this game was released, let's just say those graphics did not age well. Hardware-wise, you'll need to turn the settings down to get consistent frame rates as it's not well optimized even today. The tutorial is decent, but boy is it long, and there is a lot to learn and you better plan to practice all of the simulations multiple times before jumping into a match, or this is going to happen a lot.
Incoming missile. Heat level critical. Warning, incoming missile. Warning, incoming missile.
Depending on your region, loading into matches is abysmal. Each match I played took around 5 minutes to sync, and the match itself may only last a few minutes. On top of that, the load in is tiered by your level, so better players load in first, followed by second tier, and so on. This kinda sucks to be honest, as there were several times like this where I loaded into a match with what seemed like the entire enemy team right in front of me. I stood no chance. The aged among us may remember the epic game that was Quake. I believe the earlier versions are still played to this day, and I remember spending hours enjoying the fast-paced matches it offered. Quake Champions is the modern take on this, and it is fun, but it fails to capture the nostalgia I had for the originals. Unlike the originals, it is free though, so maybe that's the trade-off here. The game's hardware requirements are certainly among the higher range, so pay attention and keep an eye out for an upcoming video on the playability of this game across various hardware specs. Quake Champions these days is just another fast-paced arena shooter trying to capitalize on its fleeting brand value through season pass and cosmetic purchases. It was kind of fun, so. The last game on this list is Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, a top-down shooter that may be the best among this bunch. Ironically, this is a game that may not work if your hardware is too good. There is a bug with the game engine such that if you have too many threads on your CPU, you'll get this core count error, and the only viable workaround is to go into your BIOS and hope your motherboard allows you to disable cores. Once you do, and reduce your core count to 4, you can play this epic tale either on your own or as a multiplayer campaign and have a blast. The game as a whole felt like a combination of the StarCraft and Halo franchises with the mob and level designs I encountered. This elevator scene was particularly reminiscent of Halo 1. Some popular free-to-play games I didn't review for various reasons include Destiny 2, as the requirements are demanding, CSGO and Dota 2, who doesn't know about these games? Thanks for watching. Next video we take a look at thermal interface materials and experiment with some unique options before exploring the free-to-play titles on Epic and Blizzard. Subscribe if you like this video and stay safe.